Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Bonus Points podcast. I am your host, Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy.
Hello, hello.
Hello Ollie. So this is your choice this week?
Yes. God, it feels like... Has it been a long time since I've chosen one? It feels like it. I guess Carrier Blaster was my choice.
Yeah, we obviously had the Christmas special and then we had a guest, so it's been a while since we've done a podcast, just us two, talking about a game, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a boring one, guys. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
We haven't done it since last year, to make the obvious joke. God. Yeah.
Are you about to ask me why I picked it?
Well, I was going to ask, like, what is it first, just to kind of set that up, and then
I've got the synopsis. I've smashed up a couple of Wikipedia paragraphs to make something that's easily digestible. Phoenix Wright's Ace Attorney is a visual novel adventure game developed by Capcom Production Studio 4 and published by Capcom. It was released in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance in Japan and has been ported to multiple platforms. The story follows Phoenix Nick Wright, a rookie defense attorney who attempts to have his clients declared not guilty. The player controls Phoenix through two sets of sections, investigations and courtroom trials.
Lovely. That was very concise. Just to clarify, the one we played was the remake or spruce up on the Switch. It was like the trilogy of the first three, but we both only played the first one. So we're reviewing the trilogy, but just the first one. So that's what we're putting on the list. But for intents and purposes, it's just the first game, but we played the spruced up version. Yeah,
I think it's just called Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, right?
Yeah.
Is that what the first one's called?
Yeah, then they added subtitles, I believe, for the ones after that. So go on then. Why'd you pick it?
So, Capcom, my favourite developer, and I've never really played this game, so it's a massive hole in my knowledge for Capcom.
So that's what
games.
I didn't know whether, because I knew you were a big Game Boy Advanced fan back in the day.
I am, yeah.
You loved that console, so I'm kind of surprised you haven't played it. Like any reason you didn't end up picking this up?
Too much reading was the childish reason. I never picked it up. I was like, I can't be bothered to play a game where all you do is read.
That makes sense. I guess because I knew you like Professor Layton, and obviously that's a very different thing. But I guess it's less reading, isn't it, in that game? Yeah,
it's way more involving, isn't it, Professor Layton?
Yeah.
But also, I'm not like a Professor Layton super fan. I've only played one of them. But I did finish it. So
yeah, no, same here, and I enjoyed it. One of the 3DS ones, but that's not the game we're talking about. So I kind of want to just get like first impression, like is it what you expected? I guess when you first started playing it.
Yeah, it's quite weird, isn't it? It's quite a weird game, quite a weird atmosphere and vibe.
Yeah,
this game.
I mean, it's basically straight up comedy, right? I mean, that's if you were going to give it a genre, I think the first genre you'll think of is comedy.
Yeah, outside of the actual murder scenes, it is like entirely comedy and outlandishness. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a fun game. I think it's showing its age a bit, and it definitely has its problems. But I did have fun with it. But I want to say straight up at the front, I didn't finish the bonus case.
Okay.
So after the credits roll, there's an extra case, and I basically looked at a walkthrough and looked at how much time I had, and I was like, I just stopped where I was. I was like, there's no way I'm going to get all that done in half an hour.
Yeah, and it is a bit like it's the same characters, but it is a bit The fourth case, which was the end of the original game, sums it all up quite nicely. And then rolls credits. And then when they ported it to DS, they added this as like a bonus case. And I did like the bonus case, but I guess you probably played enough of it. You probably pretty much saw where it was going.
I can tell you where I got to. I got over. They revealed that one of the guys wasn't really killed. That's pretty much where I got to. So I was about halfway through.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe just quickly to go through what you actually do if you're not watching the video version. So there's kind of two things you do, right? You're either in court, which is amazing. It's like really good. In court, so what you're doing is like basically picking holes in people's testimonies and looking at evidence and basically trying to prove that your guy is innocent. Even if the odds are overwhelming, you're still, Phoenix truly believes that everyone is innocent. Yeah. He has this indomitable spirit in him that means that everyone, even if they're literally confessing to the crime, he's like, no, you've misunderstood the situation that you're in. And you are actually innocent.
It's funny because there'd be someone who's like, yeah, no, I'm guilty. I did murder them. Also, I don't want you to be my defense attorney.
Yeah,
and he's like, nope. Like, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. He's like, no, you listen here.
Yeah, they're
I'm
like,
going to come
not
in here and
paying
defend
you.
you.
I haven't even hired you. And it's like, no, I'm going to save the day.
So that's one half of the game. And then the other half of the game is the investigations.
Yeah.
Which I feel like are 50-50 good and bad. They're kind of good up until the point where you don't know what thread you're pulling on anymore.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that-
I would go further and say that, like, as soon as it got to those bits, I was kind of dreading it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because there's no, I mean, the thing with the court cases is like the fun revelations, and then the like, you know, someone shouts or like, no, wait, hold it, and then like everyone's looking around, and it's like, oh, it was them. You know, there's like so many fun twists. Whereas the outside the case bits, it kind of almost becomes like a point and click adventure game. I think that's probably the closest thing you could talk about it, but it seems to all just be like set up for then the court case. So it's needed, it's crucial, but I do think it could have been done better, and probably has been done better in the future games. I would bet.
Yeah, I liked the, you know, as you're unraveling the thread, don't get me wrong, I liked it then, you know, like speaking to people and kind of putting together in your head what it is that this happened. But then as soon as it was like, as soon as I'm going back to the office to ask Maya what to do, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I've got no idea what to do. And she's like, I don't know. I'm just a kid or whatever. It's like, oh
well, it often
God.
is quite abstract. It'll be like, because you don't really know what you're trying to do. And it'll be like, oh, yeah, I've looked at this area. I've looked in this room. And then I examined everything. And then I left. And then like, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do now. It's like, oh, if you go back to that room, now a character's there. And it's like, but there's nothing that would have suggested that this character would have been there. You're just like, what screen do I need to go on? What do I need to click on so it's going to progress? And then at some point, it's like, okay, now let's go to court. And it's like, you never know when that point's going to be.
Every time that came on that was like the date and the time in green, I'd be like, oh, thank God I've done it. Like, I found the right place to go. So what pulled you through it then? Because there's it's 50% walking around.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I was like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm so angry, this is so bad. It's like, oh, I wish I was doing the other thing, and this is just time in between me being able to do that thing. I also thought I was a bit mixed on the artwork, but I think on some of these sections, the artwork was worse. And so some of the environments looked pretty ugly, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, the characters look great.
Yeah.
I really like the characters, and I really like the UI. Like, I saw someone online, which I know is a stupid thing to say, refer to it as a DVD menu simulator. But, like, I actually think it looks great. Like, it's clear, and it kind of looks like an official document or something, and it's quite cool. And the actual characters themselves, like, they are so good and, like, so emotive, considering they barely move, which I think is probably because it was a GBA game. They couldn't have them, you know, flapping around. But, like, the emotions that come through the expressions and stuff that they have, like, especially Edgeworth.
Yeah.
Like, when he's, like, down, you know, like, down on his luck in court, like, you can literally see
when
it
he's,
coming
like,
out
goes
of his
grey.
Yeah, and he's, like, hanging over the desk, like, oh, my God. And also the other one the other expression I really liked was Maya, when she's, like, annoyed and she's, like, looking at you in court. And she's, like, turned to the side and she's got these, like, half-done eyes. And I was like, that is such a good drawing. Like, yeah, so but the environments, they weren't that interesting to look at. And there's one shot in particular that I think was pretty bad, which is the full courtroom.
Oh,
like, every time they zoom out to the full courtroom, all the characters look like weird.
Well, it looked like, because obviously they're up-resing or, you know, tracing over pixel art from, you know, relatively high-res pixel art GBA. You know, like, it's not like it's, you know, 8-bit or whatever. But it looks like... It reminds me of... like, I play the remakes of the old point-and-click adventure games where they did, like, Full Throttle and Day of the Tentacle, which is pixel art, and they've, like, smoothed it out. And it looks, like, nice, but, like, you can kind of tell that that's what's happened. And I realized that. I also found you're talking about, like, the clarity of the menus. I felt like this might sound really stupid, but when it was like you're talking to someone not in the courtroom, The fact that it doesn't show Phoenix Wright, or that it doesn't change the color or switch where the name is,
Right.
like, it's not like I was constantly getting confused, but like I would have to look at the name for who's talking, because it'd be switching back between them, and it'd be the same color, and it would just be the name that's changed. Even if it did like the name on the other side of the screen, or a different color, or just had him come up, and because then you could see him expressing as well. Like, it seems like the game's doing so little in terms of the mechanics. That should be an obvious thing to do. That I'm sure most graphic novels do.
I don't know. I feel like it is just as stupid they haven't done that as it is the fact that you found it confusing. Like,
it's not like I was.
Like, how many games have text boxes? You have to read the name of the character. Like, all of them? Like, every game before this?
You see them talking or something. Because of this, it will keep that.
No,
character.
not normally. Not in 2001. You didn't.
No. So what it would be like a JPEG of like Joe Bloggs on screen talking, saying about like, I wasn't even at the lake. And then it'll be Phoenix Wright like saying something, but then it'll just be him just staying there, and then suddenly just the text change. So obviously I read the names, like I work it out, but like I have to like, that's an extra step for my brain to do, which is like slowing down the pace of the conversation compared to like,
I guess, like in court they do show him.
Yeah.
So that's like they could have shown him.
Yeah, or just change the name of the text box, or have it on the other side. Like there's a lot of ways they could have solved that. Like I'm not docking the game points. I'm not going to say it's on the bottom of the list for that. But when you were saying about how good the UI was, that was something that did stick out to me.
The one complaint I do have about the UI is that it's not always clear if you've opened the present menu or if you've just opened the court record. So you'd have the court record open and you go to present it, and you can't. You have to come out of it and then press the present button. It's the same menu. It just has an extra.
Well, I think a lot of that stuff was a bit fiddly. Like the fact that. So what the main thing you're doing when you're in court is it'll be a witness doing a testimony, and they'll basically go through and basically say like a sentence like, I went in at this time, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And you can go and you can kind of question it and push further and like ask more about it. Or you can present a piece of evidence that contradicts what they're saying, which is normally when the whole objection comes out. But like, say if you scroll to like the end of that, which is quite easy to kind of even do accidentally, then there's like a whole, not like cutscene, but there would be a little conversation with someone, and it will always be like the same. And sometimes it's kind of annoying, like skipping through the same things. And there's even a few parts where you'll question on a particular thing, and there'll be a whole back and forth several times, or sometimes with jokes, and then it'll give you multiple options. And there'll be times when you have to click on all those options, but then you have to go through that same dialogue every time.
Yes,
There's a few little moments like that where I feel like they haven't kind of thought through what the gameplay experience is. They just written some nice dialogue, but it's almost too much dialogue for that moment.
Yeah, I had that today where a guy was like, okay, I will answer one question, and then he gives you three.
Yeah.
And I did one, and then I didn't get anything of it. So then I went back to that option, and he was like, okay, I'll answer one question. It's like, we've already answered one. I'm going to ask you again. And he just answered fine. Like, the first
I know that was actually, I think, the point I was talking about. But then there's too much back and forth in, but like, what a game would do now is the second time you do that, it would just go straight to that menu and not do the same dialogue, or change the dialogue. Like, okay, I'll give you one more then,
Yeah. I wonder if there was anything in, like, maybe if they're making it that you can't really lose might have been better. Because obviously you have the whole health bar thing as well. And, like, the fact that you repeat stuff, like, maybe they should have just made all roads lead to,
I think they want to add some tension. So I did want to talk about that. So as you say, you kind of got a health bar. So if you present like wrong evidence, then the judge would be like, "Oh, I'm going to have to dock you for that." And basically, you essentially have 5 attempts. Really, the way the health bar works. Did you ever fail?
No, because when I got down to 1, I would save it.
Okay.
Because a few times, and also a few times I used a guide, especially on the bonus one. I used a guide for 90% of it. Because like I was having so much fun in the courtroom that I kind of didn't want to get stuck, because I was like, every twist and turn, I played basically through the whole thing with Brian as well. So every twist and turn, we were both like, "Oh my god!" Like, and then the music would come on, and we were both like start like dancing.
It's good because you're like, "Oh my god," but all the characters are like, "Oh my god!" as well.
And the screen is like shaking, and like the sounds of like gunshots going off. Yes, man, the amount of mileage they get out of that hammer tapping
Yeah.
It's not even that good a sound effect, but the way they use it is like,
yeah. And sometimes it's just one, but if it's like a 3-hitter,
yeah.
then you know it's like that's a hype moment in the courtroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we were saying about
with the failing. So I did fail, and it's just like the worst thing ever. Like I failed near the end of like a court session, and it just kicks you back to the main menu. And then you have to press continue, and then it's like to your last save point, which was before the trial. And then it's just excruciating because it's just so boring. So you're just having to click through, but don't click through too fast in case you accidentally click the wrong thing and fell. And then on that bonus mission, I had full health right near the end, but there was like an instant fail. And it was
really?
It was like, do you want to present this piece of evidence, which could be damning for your defendant, yes or no? And they're like, oh, but if you do like false evidence, you'll fail. And I did it. Yeah. I said, I was going to show the evidence, assuming I'd talk my way around it somehow. And then it was just like guilty, and it kicked me back. No. And I was like, what? Because if I get down to 1 health, that's when I'm like, I think it's this. I'm going to look up a guide just to double check because I don't want to do this all again.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds quite cool though, the instant fail.
I mean, maybe for a second, but then going back through it all, like I was deep into that trial session. It wasn't fun.
There was also one thing I did by accident is if you rest your thumb on the touchscreen, it skips all the dialogue. And I did that once, but I don't know what I missed. It just zoomed through. It just says like
I
as if it's on
that,
like fast forward.
That was my way for if I did fail and need to get back through quick. Because I did it a few times. I would do rather than pressing like A or whatever, I'd on the screen go like just tapping the screen with two fingers to get. That was my speedy way to get through. But read just enough, like speed read it to not go too far.
I don't know if we can even explain. Well, for me personally, how good the courtroom sections actually are. Like, what I really like about this game is the characters are so clear who are good and who are bad that it makes it really easy to like, feel like you're actually taking someone down and being like, Phoenix is going to do it no matter what. You can really get behind him, except for one character who I didn't really like, which is Edgeworth. I feel like he steps over the line too many times to the point where I was like, I don't even know what your motivation is.
I loved Edgeworth.
I like
you're
him.
You're going to get some comments about that. Like,
don't get me wrong. I like him, but he's the only character that was like, I don't know if I should be cheering you on or hating you and it kind of doesn't work because then it's like...
No, that's the point. That's what they go... That's absolutely intentional.
Yeah, but I don't want that. I want the prosecutor who looks like an orc and sounds like a vampire. Like, that's what I want. Like, I don't want a guy that's like my best mate.
No, I think it's great because he is that at first. He is that, or he is the upright villain, the confident one, and like they're like, oh, have you got the evidence report? And I'm like, yes, I do. And he's like, have you got the up-to-date one from this morning? And you're like, oh, he's keeping, like he is set up as that, but then you kind of go through you see why he's like that, and you go through his backstory, and then like you come around on him a little bit.
But that is all well and good, but the fact that he comes back at the end and he's your opponent again, and then he's like being rude to you in his office, and it says like in Phoenix's inner monologue, like, oh, it's nothing personal, it's just all about the case with him, and it's like, well, we've kind of been through quite a lot together now at this point. I don't know if you should still be being like this.
Well, I think he's like a bit...
why he
turns around, he gets nice, and he's like, he is to like... They do the thing where he's like really like trying to say thanks, but like can't do it because he's like,
yeah. See, all that stuff is good, but then it just gets thrown back in your face at the last case when he's like, it's like, whose side are you on whose side is he on at the end? Like, is he trying to catch someone? Is he trying to help you? Like, I was just like, should I be cheering this guy on or not? I don't know. Yeah, so I liked him though. I think he's funny.
I liked he was the one more complex character. Like he felt like a deeper character by far than anyone else in it. And I just like the look of him. He just looked like he's cool. Like he's hot. Like
what about his Austin Powers cravat?
I know, like he's really well dressed. And then you go into like you see his office. Was that only in the bonus one? I think you go to his office and he's got like his like tea set and it's all organized and stuff. Like I loved all of that stuff.
So don't get me wrong, I liked him. I just didn't like that he kept going over the line between being a villain and being a hero. Okay. It was like I like the fact that it was simple. The characters were simple. Like their names are just what they are. Do you know what I mean? Like I liked that. It was so easy to get along with, and then like when they do throw someone in that is a bit more complex,
if it stinks, it's usually butts. Was like what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Lotta Hart was another one as well. Like the really nice woman. Like I liked that, and then throwing someone for me, dipping someone in that was a bit more complex kind of soured it, because it was like, what? I want to be cheering on the heroes and booing the villains. If this guy's both, then I don't really know what I should be doing.
Yeah, no.
But that is a nitpick.
I get that. Any other just standout characters for you while we were lording them up?
Yeah, I mean, the best case for me, my favourite case with the best characters was the second one. With April May and... is his name White Red or Red White, the villain?
Yeah. Was that the one where Mia was killed, or Maya?
Yeah, the blackmailer.
Yeah.
And he punches Phoenix in the face when you're in his office. I was just like, excuse me?
Yeah. And then they just go back to court. And it's like...
Yeah. So that, for me, that was the highest point of the game. I felt like that should have been the final one.
For me, case 4, like the final one, like that last like court session.
Yeah.
That was where it got most hype for me.
Yeah, that was so... Case 4 was so mad.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? The whole thing with like...
It had twists and turns.
Yeah, the twists and turns are good. It had real Twin Peaks vibes, that final case.
Yeah.
Like, you're out on the lake. Something's going on the lake. Everyone's talking about their dreams. There's the bird that gives the evidence, the same as Twin Peaks. I was like, oh, this is like...
Yeah, and then all like the memory loss stuff, and then it was like that guy was faking. Like, see, I loved all of that. Like, I felt like there was like a deep history to that case, because it was even like there was stuff referenced to it like in earlier cases. It did feel like it was really building up to that one. We've not mentioned Gumshoe yet, the detective. He's pretty great. Yeah,
he was all right. He's pretty funny. He was like, see, that's what I like about the characters. Like, he is like, if I was going to write a detective character, I would write them exactly like that. Yeah. Like, exactly how he was. You know what I mean? Like, this tough guy. And that's what I like about all the characters, is they're just so easy. It's such an easy scenario to understand, considering some of the situations you go through. It's good that the characters are so straightforward and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, just quickly on that second case, because it was like, obviously your partner got killed, your law partner, not your girlfriend or anything. And also the fact that Phoenix was going to go to prison. For me, that felt like the right amount of stakes for it to be the finale. So when I was doing it, I was like, is this the end already? Like, are we already there at the end? And then I can't even remember the third.
The third was the samurai. Yeah, like
the
film
samurai
one.
Yeah, that was I got stuck on that one quite a lot.
That was I think the weakest for the non-court session ones. That was the time when I was like, okay, let's go in this room. Is someone there? Let's go in this. Oh, okay, now there's a random kid here. Okay, like there's nothing to suggest like that was what was going to happen. But there was some nice moments in the court. Like one of I had probably my best moment of like, oh, I worked this out myself, was where it was there's this kid with a camera, and he's like saying that he was taking pictures of the fight, but you knew it was like a new camera, and then you work out that like, wait a minute, his whole thing is he takes a picture of every time that like this person gets the final blow, but he didn't get one here, and it was like, oh, it's because he's got a new camera and he was messing around, and I worked that out because it was a risk presenting that evidence. And so I was pretty proud of myself there, because sometimes you feel a bit wrong, because sometimes you work it out way more before it lets you present it, and I'm like, I just want to present. I know what you're leading up to here.
Yeah, or sometimes you don't present it against the right phrase, but you've got the right idea. That happened quite a few times as well, where it was actually in the bonus case that I presented the videotape as evidence. Because I was like, oh, you can see it in the tape, present it. And then they're like, oh, I don't really see how that is part of this. And actually what I had to do was watch the tape, scroll to the right point, and then present it.
Yeah.
Whereas like to me, I was just like, yeah, here's the tape. Like it's on, you can see it.
Yeah. And I think that's why the health system hurts. Like I think a way to do it is maybe do like a ranking system. So like you can never outright fail and have to replay it, because like that's just annoying. Like that's just not fun for anyone. But like, say if you never get anything wrong, you'll get like an S rank or whatever, or an A rank like that. That could be a way to do it. So like you can always get through it, but you still want to make sure you're getting it right, because you get like a better rank. That might be a way to do it.
Yeah, I like those sort of systems in games, because you kind of decide your own difficulty.
Yeah, if you care about getting that rank, then you know you can reload it if you want. But for me, where I'm there for the story, then I could just carry on.
Yeah. Also, I think just while we're talking about things we like, we should also touch on the fact that the music absolutely rips and is unbelievably good. And also, the way it comes in is like always perfect.
That's what it is. It's the timing, like when it comes in.
Because you get like you get your objection, and it just goes silent. and then he hits his hands on the desk, and then the music comes in, and you're literally like, oh,
yeah.
he's got him.
And it matches the mood like so beautifully. I mean, I think it never really got to this point, but like I think maybe a few more tracks, like it is the same few
it needs more music. It needs
again
more music.
and again. But so I loaded up like just today the next game.
Oh, yeah.
And I did just like basically the tutorial of like I haven't even done like a whole case. You know, I did like a tutorial session on that, and it was different music, and I was like, oh, I kind of miss the old music. Like, I don't know if it was worse. Like it just like I just felt like I associate the music so much with like those like moments and those beats in the courtroom that just it being different. Like I was kind of like half hearing the old music and like it was almost like, oh, there's something wrong. It's like, oh no, it's just different.
Yeah. The song that grated on me was the like general Going About Town song.
Yeah.
That was the one that I was like, for God's sake. And also like the people were saying things to you that are so mad, and the music is like really upbeat, and it's like,
and then also like this like the diegetic sound effects where there'd be like basically no sound effects apart from one clip they have of a bird that they reuse everywhere.
So
came in really loud, and like to the point where I was like, wait, is that meant to be hinting something? But like they would never have the sound of cars or the sound of wind or anything. It was just this one bird sound effect, which it kind of made it point out how quiet and desolate the rest is, because that could have really helped, like just having like background sound for some of the environments would make it look less like a JPEG.
It is like you are literally looking at pictures of backgrounds. There's almost no sense of place whatsoever when you go to these places. And also I feel like the way that you navigate them is so arbitrary, like the fact that you have to go to certain places before you can go to others.
Oh yeah, like the way you move between them.
Yeah, like just let me have the whole list and I'll...
Yeah, especially in that bonus case when you got quite a few locations, and there didn't seem to be like a huge amount of. I'm sure there is a logic to it, but I was always just like, I would never get it first try. The route that I would need to get to like be several rooms deep in this building. Like, what way do I need to go first?
Yeah, can I drag another character quickly?
Okay.
I don't like Maya.
Okay.
Or Maya, whatever her name was.
Do you want to kind of explain, like who she is? Because she's a weird character.
Yeah, she's like your little. She's basically your. So you start the game, you work at a law firm with another person, and that person dies. And Maya, is it Maya or Maya? I don't know.
So Mia, like MIA, is the one who was your boss, and then Maya, MAYA,
Maya, okay, Maya
is the younger sister.
So Maya is she's the younger sister, and I don't really get why she's hanging around. Like, in that one case, I get it. But then she continues to hang around. She's not very helpful, despite the fact that she should be, in theory, incredibly helpful because she's a spirit medium. So she should be asking every single murder victim who killed them. But the whole time she was there, I was waiting for Mia to come back. And then in the bonus case, you have Emma. And she's, like, just a better character. Like, I think her design's way cooler. She's way, like, funnier. Like, her lines are funnier. And she's so much more useful because she's got all of, like, the criminal forensic stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like Maya, I was just like, what are you doing here? And she's got this whole storyline where she's like, doesn't think she's good enough. And I don't think it was actually really resolved.
No, she just leaves. She gets
like
so she wants to become like a spirit medium and talk to the dead. So she channels Mia, her dead sister, who like kind of comes through her. So something we haven't really got talked to is some of the female characters. Their designs are quite
yes.
Yeah, I mean, of their day.
Yeah, two of them in particular, I think, are pretty bad.
Well, then Mia and Maya, because it's like Maya's meant to be the little sister, and I don't know how old she's meant to be, but she doesn't look old at all. But it's basically like, if it's her, like she's all like buttoned up in like this weird like dress. But then if it's Mia, it's basically just like her boobs are hanging out, and like that's the way you know, like who's there. Like it's like what? Like it's like such a weird like that's the distinction between them.
Yeah, her, April, May, both of them. Especially because of the first two cases, it's like, oof, what are we getting ourselves into with this? To be fair, though, like well, actually not to be fair, because it is rubbish, but there is some good female characters in it as well, which I guess is something for 2000.
They're heavily outnumbered, and like obviously we can. It's the day, and then also we've kind of brought up before about even today Japanese games. I think in that regard, are still a little bit behind. I think. Yeah,
but I read online that because obviously I didn't finish the bonus case or start the second one. But I read online that the bonus case is pretty much struck from the record. So like all the stuff that you did in that, like fingerprint dusting and liminal fluid, or it's called, you don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
And so to me, that says Emma's probably not coming back.
Well, what it says to me is that was like we got the DS. It all felt very much like touchscreen stuff, and then like it had 3D stuff. I don't know if you got to the part where you got to like put together. There's a broken vase. You need to piece it together, and I feel it was like, oh, they want to do 3D stuff and touchscreen stuff because, as you say, there's like, you know, chalking for fingerprints and stuff. You got to like tap on screen, you know, to do it. And then I bet on the DS maybe you had to blow it off at the end, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah. I just don't know if I could go back. I don't know if I could play the second one and not have any of that stuff because it's so much more engaging.
So I already realised that they did, even in the second one, the court cases are a bit deeper. So in this one, you can present evidence. In this one, you can also like present like people, like you have like their profiles, and you can say like, rather than presenting evidence, you can just outright say a person. Because there's sometimes cases where you're like, well, I know I'm trying to say it's this person, so I'm like, I guess I'll show their watch to, you know, or whatever it is. So it feels like that's better. And then I was kind of reading like some reviews of it, and they talk about how basic these first 3 games are compared to where it becomes. But apparently a lot of people prefer them because it gets much more like spiritual and mediums and like in the courtroom. And so I don't know what that takes place as, but I would kind of prefer it not to be that, because it always gets to a point once you kind of get into like almost magic, it feels like, well, if anything's possible, nothing's exceptional.
Yeah, true. I think if I was going to play, I mean, I am interested in the series now, but I think I'm interested at the point where I will play the newest one and not go back and play all the ones, because there's like 15 of them or something. I
think I'll play the rest of them because I've already bought them. Like, I think there'll be something, I might play them in bed and stuff, you know.
Yeah, because there's also like, there's 2 games where you play as Edgeworth. Okay. There's like the one where he crosses over with what's his name, the puzzle guy, Professor Layton.
Professor Layton. Okay,
yeah. They team up and have to take down a company called Librellum, which is a anagram of umbrella. So I sort of want to see how that how that ties in. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could. It feels very old, and like watching the videos of the newest one, it looks so much better, and I'm kind of on board with that.
Yeah, I feel like it was almost a miss for this like port to Switch. I feel like it's a missed opportunity, because I feel like they could have like keep like the dialogue is so good, and it's always just enough to be enough information, set up the characters, and be really funny, and like the timing and the pacing is still like I don't like know what they could do to make that better, but it's just everything like around it, like all of the trappings, like the overall setup, which I think lets it down, and that's what's aged. And maybe it would have been a bit too difficult, or almost just not worth it for them to redo that for how many copies this remake's going to sell. But yeah, it's that, and then as we said about some of the artwork and like the sound effects and stuff, like it you know, this was a Game Boy Advanced game, like, and it does show.
The sound effects though, they're used to great. I mean, except for the bird singing. Excuse me. Except for the bird singing, like they're so good. Like in the courtroom, you just have mad sounds, even though it's just meant to be 2 people talking. It's like guns firing, glass shattering, like, but not like related to anything. Just like what they're doing, and like the screen is going mad, like shaking and like flashing, and those animations of the people, like, I guess the only way of putting it is like taking damage.
Yeah, when they get
like when you
stressed.
get through to them.
Yeah,
so good. Like the one of the cowboy guy and his poncho like blows up.
Yeah,
like it's so good. It looks so amazing.
There'll be a lot of characters that are like super like they're often like the people that are like lying or bad, like they're really cocky, which I think they do on purpose, and they'll be really like confident and be like, let's just get this over with, like we're gonna get a verdict, like I know I'm gonna win. Then when you break through and like prove that they're lying, and then you see that literally like their eyes glow and like sweat coming off, and they're like, like they're like freaking out. Like it is like satisfying.
Yeah, the one that I think they could have done a bit more on is Von Karma. I wanted his meltdown to be much worse than it was, because he just turns around, hits his head on the wall, and then turns back and it's kind of done. But I want him to like turn around and have like blood running
But he
down
has
his
like a
face
giant.
like...
He has like a giant scream, doesn't he? He just screams
Yeah,
out, and that actually becomes into the case that someone recognizes his scream. But he is. I kind of made a little joke with you about it. Probably my favorite animation is his like his little finger wag. So he's just really like. So he's one of the prosecutors, and he's like never lost a case. And like, if you say like, "Oh, I'm going to present this evidence," and he thinks you shouldn't, he just like does his face like a little O and just wags his finger like Every time I did it, it just made me laugh so much. His little finger wag.
And Edgeworth was his mentor, and he has like almost the same animations. Did you notice that? But they're like a bit more toned down.
Yeah,
so he has like the snap and the finger waggle, but it's not like
it's good. More just like by his head, because it wasn't he his like mentor or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like... Yeah. But I like that's what I like. It's like, you know, that dude looks like Dracula.
Yeah,
it makes it fun taking him down. You know.
Yeah, that's true. And then the judge is perfect. He's like just useless and oblivious.
He's so stupid. He is so stupid.
It's so like lovable. There's one, I know you got some quotes as well, but this is my first one I want to say, where someone, I can't remember what it was, but someone presents some like important evidence, and it does the thing where it cuts around and everyone's freaking out, and then the judge just goes, "Please explain that so I might be shocked along with the rest of the court." Because everyone else, he like doesn't know why like it's like important, so they need to explain it to him.
I've got quite a lot of quotes, but I took them as screenshots on my Switch, so I don't have the context for which they were, but they're good. I got the do you want to go? The first one that really made me laugh was White saying she had just finished watching a soap opera and was weeping openly. It's a great description. And Phoenix saying, "You can't testify as to her ability to kill an egg. I mean a person." I don't remember why he said that. I think he was talking to the woman, the camper, Lotta Hart.
Yeah.
Because I've got another screenshot a couple of minutes later that's the judge saying, "You have a point, and the spork is a wonderful invention."
I remember that one. I got another good one of the judge. I can't remember exactly what it was, but someone like says like, "Oh, like someone mistook my hat for something," or someone mistook something for something else. And then the judge says, "People often mistake my beard for a bib." And the best word in that is often. that makes it so funny as well. The judge has a big white beard, for those that haven't been watching the video version.
I also got to see the source of I don't know if you've seen the meme, but it's the one of Phoenix saying almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas.
Yeah,
like,
I remember
everyone on
that.
Twitter on Christmas Eve posts that.
Oh,
and
really?
I finally now know where it's from.
Yeah, that's from the late case, isn't it? And then I just got one final one. This one's from Edgeworth. And I did put a note on it saying, put it one higher on the list just for this quote, because it was so good.
Right,
so it's at a really high, tense moment. It's not a comedy moment. And then, like, you're going to win. And then he suddenly shouts, like, "Objection!" And then like, there's a big pause. It cuts to him. And it's like, there's no text for a bit. And then it suddenly pops up saying, "I was hoping to come up with a question while objecting. I didn't." It's so good. Because there's so many times where you think like, "I'll put a bow on it, I know what it is," and then someone will be like, "Objection, like, I know it's this," and they go like, "Oh, how do you know that?" They're like, "Well, I know it is, and I have definitive proof and evidence," and you're like, "What? Like, what could that be?"
Yeah. I feel like it sounds negative, I don't know another word for it, but the contrivedness is a bit of a double-edged sword. Like, on one hand, it means it's good because it's really simple and easy to follow, but on the other hand, it's like, there's one too many, "Oh, I forgot to mention," or like, "Oh, I have this evidence, but I wasn't allowed to submit it," which sometimes can like throw in the face your own detective work, because it's like, well, I was never going to know that I was going to be doing that.
Yeah, I think kind of just got to go along with it and write. Like, it was like the fact that this is the first game, and there was like several ones where it's like, but they're actually left-handed, not right-handed. You know, like some of those specifics are like not lazy, but like not as inventive as they could have been. Some of the reasons, you know, why you're objecting to stuff, but like, I think it always pays off. Like that's often like the early things, and then like by the end, like it builds every single one to where there was a big twist that I didn't expect.
Considering they're all murder cases, you know, in the abstract, if you look at just the case synopsis, they're all like varied and interesting.
Yeah,
I think like as long as you don't dig too deep, like the fourth one, where the guy killed someone. Spoilers for the game if you haven't played it. You should go and play it before I spoil this. Right, I'm spoiling it now. Where he like kills someone and then throws himself off a boat, so it looks like he dumped the body. Like all that stuff was so clever. And then, that was the other thing. Yeah, so on that case where Von Karma's got the bullet in his shoulder. I was saying to Bryony, because we were playing it together, I was like, oh, it'd be so good if you had like a proper meltdown at the end. And she was like, yeah, they should have used a giant magnet to like rip the bullet out. Like, he could have had like such a good meltdown, but instead they had like the metal detector. You don't even see it.
Yeah.
Like, the thing that catches him, you don't even see it. The screen's just black.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, all the cases were like clever. Like the last one, the bonus one of the 2 people being killed at once. 1 victim, 2 murders. Like, obviously it turned out not to be the case, but
because at first you're like, well, how is that possible? You know, like how, and like when they first like reveal that, I did like the last case. It once again, the non-courtroom sessions like were just they were just a slog. They were too long, and it was too many locations, and it was too much of like, oh, the detective's not here right now. Why don't you check back later? And I'm like, okay, so like, what else am I gonna have to do to trigger him? Just he's back now. Like, but yeah, I've kind of gone into that already.
What did you think of Phoenix as a character?
I think he's a great protagonist. Like, I think that for the perspective of, you're the player, I think when he's probably best is like you can hear like his inner thoughts, and some of those bits are really funny when someone says something and you can see like what he's thinking at the time, like especially when it's like they're all into this like samurai show and then he's like totally just not in it, and he's like, oh my god, like everyone's into this like stupid show and he's collecting these cars. Like some of those bits are funny, or like when the judge says something stupid, he's like, come on judge, like, like really, you're that much of a pushover? Like so I think that's when you see most of his character, but like he's quite basic in terms of like what he says.
I guess he's a bit a self-insert, really. Like, you're meant to kind of project yourself.
Yeah, he's a bit more than that. Like, I kind of enjoy the way he's like kind of self-deprivating and like, like he kind of almost like even like makes fun of his own like spiky hair sometimes and stuff. Like he's like, I think he's a great protagonist. Like, I think that he wouldn't like, he's not the standout character, because if he's the really wacky one, like, I think that doesn't really work. He kind of needs to be like the straight one, trying to piece it all together and like trying to deal with the chaos that's around him. And I think he fits that nicely.
The only reason I bring it up, I liked him. As I said before, I played through the whole thing with Bryony. She absolutely hated him.
Oh, really?
She was like, he's a dork, he's stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing, like his hair is stupid, his suit is ridiculous, like who is this guy? And I was like, no, he's cool, like he's like the hero, like he's got charisma. She was like, no, he's absolutely terrible. Like, she hated him. Obviously, she wanted the bad guys to go to prison, but
yeah.
Oh, it's just like,
I wouldn't call him cool. Like, I don't think he's meant to be like the cool character, but like, I think, as I said, I think he fits the role that he's in. Like, I think there's like, it's not a coincidence when we were all speaking about our favorite characters and none of us mentioned him until you specifically brought him up now. Like, he's not the one that you picture, unless you're thinking of objection and him pointing his finger. But like, I think if there was a stronger, more forceful, like super confident, suave, because that's the thing is the confident, suave ones, they're the ones that it's satisfying to like wipe the smile off their faces. If you're that and you're like that, actually I know, like that's like you're the one being like that, and I think that's not as fun.
Yeah, true. I've got some I've pulled some information about the game that I thought was quite interesting.
Okay.
But I don't have a lot of context for it, unfortunately. I just kind of have facts. But someone somewhere has said, either on the development team or publisher or some PR person, has said that the game is a satire on the Japanese legal system because it has a 99% conviction rate.
Yes.
So I think some of the stuff that's happening in the game, even though it's mad, might not be far from the truth of what's going. Like, people forging evidence and like stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I've heard that like the legal system is a mess over there. That's come up. Like, I've heard about it through things related to video games more than anything else, like cases, like even like copyright stuff and that. But yeah, because it's weird because it was the original game was set in Japan, and for all intents and purposes, this one is, but they kind of localized it and pretended, because there's a bit where they say something about it being America, and I was like, wait, what? This is meant to be
Yeah,
America?
same.
But it's like
we actually
completely
got,
Japanese.
Frosty Flytrap over on YouTube said, "What did you think of the localization? There are some infamous funny examples in this. I'm curious if any in particular stood out to you or if you're even aware of them." And for me, the one that was most obvious was samurai hot dogs.
Yeah.
Like, what were they thinking with this? Like, the guy, the police officer, Meekins, he's got a Japanese armband on. And it's like, where is this? Did they actually say it's meant to be in America? Did they explicitly say that?
Yeah, no, they do. So it was in the case by the lake, I think. Well, I can't remember. Maybe they said it before, but they specifically said something about it being in America. And then they got the cowboy character, I guess. He's talking about Texas and stuff. But they specifically said, because I remember when they said it, like I was playing with Kai, and we were both like, "Oh wait, what?" They're like, "This is meant to be America."
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Also, isn't Maya's? I mean, I know she's meant to be a spirit medium, but it looks like quite a traditional Japanese outfit.
Oh, just everything looks like the locations just look Japanese, the style of it. Like, obviously it's like an anime style game, but like the locations, like they look like it is in Japan. Like everything about it just reeks like Japanese. Because obviously they ported it over, and I don't think they expected it to be a hit in the USA, but it was kind of like the doorway to like graphic novels for America, because they were already huge in Japan. But obviously, like in America and the West, before then, they weren't a huge deal. I think it's really only probably the last 5 years they've become really, really popular. Like, have you played many graphic novels?
You mean visual novels?
Visual novels, sorry. Visual
novels.
They got graphics, visual graphic novels.
No, I haven't. But the reason I played this one is because I like the it's so impactful. The feel of it is so good.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading, actually, if you're watching the video version, this book right here, it's about development of Street Fighter 2.
That's actually a light that says recording, Ollie. I don't
just behind that is a book.
I've been reading this sign. And
Are we recording this? Have we been recording this the whole time? But so in that, there's a bit about Capcom design, like principles and stuff like that. And they say that they want to make every action in their game fun to do on its own. And as long as they've done that, then they think they can make a fun game out of it. And when you think of Phoenix Wright, it's like, oh yeah, like they've made literally just telling someone objection to be like the most fun thing in the game. So they've built it all. The entire thing has been built around doing that. The entire thing is built around finding lies and shouting at people, and they like made it fun. So that's why. Because someone asked, I don't have your name. I'm really sorry, but they asked about another visual novel. I'd never even heard of it, called Doki Doki Literature Club.
I've heard people mentioning it.
Yeah, they were like, "That's the best one. Why didn't you do that one?" And I was like, "Don't know."
Yeah, no, I think it's Doki Doki. People say. I think.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, no, I've heard. People have recommended for us to do that.
Well, maybe we can if it has a shouting objection and shouting take that and hold it. And
But just imagine a version where like the courtroom is as it is, or even a slightly more fleshed out version, but then the other half's like a good point and click adventure game. Like, because that would be like a lovely matchup of like a nice shift of pace, because I love the pace of point and click adventure games, but it was just the clunkiness of, or even like tiny things like if you examine a thing, then there'll be a little tick on the magnifying glass, which is the icon. But then, like, after a court case, when you go back, they all disappear, and so you have to. And it's like, well, I don't know if like, oh, have I clicked on this or not because the tick's not there? Like, and none of it's a big deal, but there's loads of tiny little things like that which just add up to like add friction to that side of the game.
Yeah, the original game, this is another fact for you, was developed by 7 people in less than a year.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's not shocking, but that is impressive.
Yeah, they also every single person on the development team recorded voice work for it. So, but that's not the version, because obviously we've got the English. But in Japanese, it's the director of the game plays Phoenix in it.
So that the American cool. So that was the original. So what not on the Game Boy though, right? Sure.
No, the Game Boy Advance one, like the voices in Japanese. I mean,
but they wouldn't have had voices in the Game Boy version, right?
I think they did.
Not that I think they did. That couldn't fit on the cartridge, right?
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 2 on the Game Boy Advance has voice acting.
what, like loads of dialogue, like scripts and scripts?
I don't think there's loads of dialogue. It probably has like about as many as 6 characters saying 3 words each, which is what it's
okay. Yeah. If it's just like the like sounds and stuff like that.
So
okay.
they everyone in the development team recorded a different character, so they're all in the game, and the director plays Phoenix, which is quite cool.
Yeah, no, that is cool. You said we had loads of comments for this game.
Yes,
from the community.
So this is a good next one. So because this one is a comment and a fact. So Sama Lama wrote in and said, "Do you ship Wrightworth?" And I wouldn't normally pull a question like this out, but it has a good fact to go along with it. So first of all, would you ship them?
Yeah, of course.
Good. Okay, and the fact is that I got a quote that Takumi, who was the director and the writer, he tried to portray an intensively strong friendship between Phoenix and Edgeworth. But then he said he did wonder if that's what people got from it, saying that some people interpreted the bond between Phoenix and Edgeworth as intensively passionate and left it at that, which I thought was quite a nice little insight to what was going on like behind closed doors. Like, did we write that right?
I wonder if they in any future games, like because I think that's probably something the community's grabbed onto, the fact that we got that question as like, I'm assuming that's like a known thing. I wonder if they like modern day pay it off. I'm guessing not, knowing kind of like Capcom and stuff, but maybe.
Yeah, I can't think of a single Capcom game that has like a functioning relationship, crushing, fancying dynamic.
Yeah.
They're all just kind of like asexual beings that like, you know, even Chris and Jill in Resident Evil, like how much stuff have they been through together and they've never had any kind of romance? So.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. Like that's not like
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind, but I don't think it's on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on their mind. Josh Iyer in the Discord asked if you've seen Phoenix Wright, the Turnabout Encounter musical.
Wait, is this a live musical, like stage?
It is an adaptation. They've not adapted on stage, but they've taken the game, all the cases, rewritten them so they rhyme, and performed them as songs. When
you say they, who's they?
Just some random people.
Okay. I've not seen that. They made
it's good.
They made a film as well, right?
They did. Right? I watched the trailer for the film. I didn't watch the film, though.
Did it look any good?
No. I mean, it looks like exactly what you're imagining. Okay. The only thing is, so you know how they present evidence in the game? Like you press it, it comes on the screen. In the film, when they present evidence, they like hold their hands up, and it's like Minority Report, and it comes up above them, and then they throw it, and it hits the other person. Is
it animated? Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's live action.
It's live action, yeah. And the director is like a really famous director. He's made loads of films. I can't remember what it's called, but he's made loads of films that I've seen. So
I just don't think it could work live action, right? Like I just can't picture it working like it's too anime, those moments.
Yeah. And also I remember watching the trailer and thinking Gumshoe looked really weird, but I can't remember why. I think he's like really scrawny.
Oh, really?
I only knew it was him because of the plaster on his face.
He's like a big brick in this one.
Yeah. Another question we got from the Discord. This question comes up a lot, so I thought I'd ask you. This is a little chapstick. Do you think this is the funniest game you have ever played?
I think it's up there. Like I swear, like all these games are just justice for that time when you said you don't think any games are funny, and then like half the games we play are just like comic genius. I don't know if it's right up there as funny as I think. Like I think maybe Undertale probably is I'll laugh more Undertale than this, but like it's up there.
Yeah, sometimes in this game, probably more often than not, I felt like I was laughing at it. Like, I can't believe you thought that was a good joke. This is so stupid. Like people's names and stuff. Like, this is so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so something where we make clear, like, there's zero subtlety to this game at all. Well, I realised I missed one quote earlier that I guess now would be a good time to say as we're talking about the humour, where it's not even a quote that you have to say. It's like one of the times where you have an option. So it's in the samurai case where there was like a bunch of plates out where they said they had steaks, and some of the plates had bones, and then some of the other plates didn't have bones. And then they're like, wait a minute, like there weren't any bones on that plate. And they're like, oh, what's the significance of that? And there's like, options like they didn't eat steak or they ate somewhere else. And one of them was they ate the bones too. And it's like, it just made me laugh so much. I know, shouting out, what's important? What does this prove? Like, you ate the bone. It's just funny they gave that as an option.
Have you seen Phoenix Wright in any fighting games?
No, well, like Smash Bros. Type things.
No, he's in he's in Marvel vs. Capcom. The previous two that came out, he was in both of them.
Yeah.
And his moveset is obviously like he shouts objection and it appears on the screen, hits them. He's also got other funny moves. Like one where he's like, basically what he's doing is he's conducting an investigation. But if you bang into him while he's doing it, it will damage you. So one where he's like running along dusting for prints.
Yeah.
And like if you hit someone, he'll collect a bit of evidence. So then if you collect like 4 or 5 pieces of evidence against someone, you can like do a super that like convicts them. It's quite clever. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah. It's always funny the way they like fit like non-fighty characters into these fighting games.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a story from Evan Ariardi on YouTube. One time during debate club at school, we all just randomly started playing sound effects whenever we were debating the other team. And my friend, being a huge Ace Attorney herself, not even fan, decided that every time our debate team made a rebuttal, we would all shout the objection sound effects repeatedly and also stand up and dramatically point at the other debater, which like that has bled into my life.
Yeah.
That has fully bled into my life.
I feel like take that is way more than objection, because you'll do like, they'll go through like the testimony and I just say take that on every single one. I might as well get all the information I can.
Yeah. And I swear sometimes as well the characters are like, how can you prove to me that my son loved me, for example? I can't remember what it is. And this will be like out the courtroom and you'll find the thing and you'll be like, take that! And it's like, what, are you like throwing at the guy?
I know.
It's like, oh yeah, you did love
be like,
me.
take that! And you'll go like, can you explain further? Like, why do you think this? Also, like, the objection, like, they very rarely, when they're going back and forth, very rarely objecting. Like, it's like, it will just be like, I have something else to say. And it'll be like, objection! Actually, I think it might have been this. Objection! Like, often, it's not, they're not actually objecting. Like, they don't take very seriously, like, the way a court works. Unless it's the way they do it in Japan, but they, like, at the beginning, like, one of the beginning cases, they're like, oh yeah, there's a new thing that's come in saying that trials can only last 3 days. So no matter what, we have to come up with a verdict after 3 days. I'm like, okay, sure.
That one, that's the exact point that I was like, okay, this is just silly, isn't it? Like, this is just a joke. This is a joke to these people.
But it's fine. Like, it just lets you know that there's always going to be 3 days. It makes absolutely no sense. Like, we're going to convict someone, like, to be guilty and go to prison just because we're out of time. Like, no more evidence.
There's one point where Edgeworth, I think, actually gets convicted guilty, and after his conviction, they still turn it round.
Yeah.
Because it comes up on the screen and says, like, guilty, and then, like, someone else comes in and says, hold it. And it's like...
Yeah, isn't that when Maya comes in and doesn't she like shout something out or something and then it ends up being saved, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, in service of these mad courtroom drama sections, which are just, I can't think of another game that's done anything like that better than this. Like,
no, but I've not played much like I asked you about graphics novels. Like visual novels. Sorry, like I've never played one, so I don't know. Maybe there's like this whole genre that we've been missing out on.
Yeah, well, I feel like the arguing aspect of this one is what makes it good.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing that so much, you just talk... Because I feel like the other ones might just be the investigating bits. Which...
Yeah, I mean, we don't, we're ignorant to it, like the dating ones have never interested me. I know apparently some of them are actually like really funny and like really smartly done, but like that kind of like format is just much less interesting to me than like the court case. Yeah,
I played a bit of the pigeon dating one.
Yeah.
Remember that was on PSN? Yeah. I played a bit of that, about an hour maybe, and I was like, oh, that's funny. Didn't play it ever again.
Any nice pigeons?
Lots of nice pigeons.
I almost got pooed on by a pigeon today. Like, me and Kai were talking and like it fell right between us. And I was like looking up, I was like, what was that? And then I just saw a little pigeon out there.
It's meant to be good luck if it gets you. Next time you should like get underneath it.
Dive in to catch it. Like, I'm so lucky, like the mud, like in the ground.
Yeah. Right, shall we list it?
Yes, put it on the list. Okay, so this is going to be the 32nd entry onto the list. I think it's a 31st actually, because we've got a blank. Oh yeah, I guess. Does that count as its own entry? But for those listening that can't see, we at number 30, there's just a little message that just says, warning, no invert option below. And beneath that is Beyond Good and Evil, because I couldn't play it inverted, which made me sad. So there's a little gap there. There's a little adjustment that I think you won't bite on, but I want to suggest. Do you want me to do that now, or do you want to put...
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
Okay, so big shock, it involves Prey. Okay.
Oh, for God's sake.
I'm not trying to move Prey up, okay?
Yeah.
So Prey at the moment is chained to Doom, which was my own doing, and I've instantly regretted. We said we can't break the chain, and I do not want to break the chain. I was just wondering, could I move the chain so it's chaining Prey and Death Stranding, which is one above Prey, so they're chained together, then we can put Half-Life Alyx above Doom.
No.
Okay, right. No. So where shall Phoenix Wright go?
Doom. The whole reason they're chained together is because Doom is so much better than you give it credit for. So you can't put things above it. That's why I agreed to that. So nothing can go above Doom, because I know you won't put it above Prey.
Okay.
So if you do that, then you're just completely going against why I agreed to it in the first place.
Okay.
So no.
Okay. It's fine. Moving on. I won't push it. Right. So where shall Phoenix Wright go? I think it should go between Doom and Prey, personally.
No, do you know what? I don't know where it should go, because I liked it, didn't love it, but talking to you about it, I think maybe I liked it more than I thought.
Yeah.
So I'm undecided. But
I liked it more than I thought I would going into. I didn't know it got as hype as it did, but there were times, as I say, mainly the the non-courtroom sections that dragged it down a little bit for me, and there was some bit there was like a lot of peaks of like frustration, and then also like, God, this is amazing, this is like so funny, like I so wish I played this, back in the day. And I reckon that maybe if we were doing one of the modern ones, maybe it would be right if the writing maintains like as good as it was back then, but they smooth out all of that stuff. And also even just doing that bonus mission, like you said about like doing that, like the video, like when they said about we're going to show a video, and I was like, whoa, what? How are you going to do this? And I was like, oh no, they have like 3D models acting something out. Like there's so many more opportunities to hide things rather than it just being pictures. So I'm like, oh, and like a full 3D one, that actually there's probably loads more stuff that they could do. So I reckon there is a Phoenix Wright game out there which could be top 10 material, but this one isn't it.
So you haven't got a place you want to put it there. I think I've got a place. So
I want it above. Let me just look. Well, so I want it above Frog Detective. I want it above Kiro Blaster. I think I want it above Warcraft 2.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want it above Resident Evil. How are you feeling?
I think I agree with you, but for me, I was only thinking as far as Killer 7. I was like, it can't go above Killer 7. But actually looking, Resident Evil being there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it above Halo. Big shocker. And Resident Evil. So it's a similar place where I think they're both incredible games that are showing their age now.
Yeah,
and it's just which one goes higher. I could go either way with these.
Resident Evil 2, they've modernized, and you really liked it. So the same thing with Phoenix Wright, probably.
Yeah,
the modern version would be.
Yeah, I'm sure the modern ones were. I mean, maybe we should just say, let's forget everything else in these games and just do it based on the writing. Which one had better writing? Which one had better character?
Resident Evil and Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, let's.
Well, Resident Evil was pretty funny.
Yeah, maybe that's the funniest game. Yeah, I don't think they're both like. The thing is with both these games, like now I'm looking at them in terms of what had the worst flaws between them, and I actually think Resident Evil had the worst flaws, but it feels like a more important game. It feels like it was so ambitious, whereas Phoenix Wright is like a book version of it wouldn't be as good, but it would get you a decent way of the way there with some of the twists and turns.
I think they're around the right way.
Yeah, you think Resident Evil above?
I think they're around the right way. Yeah, I think Resident Evil above, Phoenix Wright, then Warcraft, then Kiro Blaster, I think is fine. I mean, we'll have to break up the Kiro Blaster Frog Detective Pond.
Well, they're going to be on different pages, aren't they, now?
Yeah, but, that's a small price to pay. I think Phoenix, I was thinking in my head when I was playing it, I was like, this is about a 16, 17 middle. So, I'm perfectly fine with 18.
I did my usual thing of not even thinking about the fact that I got to put it on a list until the very moment where I got to do it. But it's just kind of a fun way to do it. And I'm sure the frogs will get reunited in the future, and that'll be a special moment. At least we're not putting it between them. So as it is going to be now then. So Resident Evil has held strong at 17. Phoenix Wright is going in at 18. And then that's pushed Warcraft 2 down to 19.
Yes, I'm having a little bit of complication trying to do this because they're all grouped with the pond. It's becoming a bit difficult.
Yeah, and for those just listening, there were lily pads surrounding the frogs just to mark a little, because the frogs ended up side by side. I got to say, hand on heart, I don't think we swayed their positioning because we wanted the frogs next to each other. They just happened to fit together during Frog Month.
Isn't it crazy that we've played 3 games where you play as a detective?
Well, we've got Frog Detective. What's the third one I'm forgetting?
Disco.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Disco
Elysium. Just about a detective in Disco.
Yeah. Okay, let's move.
I've also got Return of the Oprah Din on my short list of games to maybe do in the future. So
nice. I'd like to play that.
But
he's not a detective. He's an insurance salesman or something, isn't
he? Yeah, but he's detecting.
Did you read anything about the history of the development of Phoenix Wright?
No, only like the little bit about like it coming like porting to the West and stuff. I don't know anything else.
He was meant to be he was meant to be a detective to start with, and then they were like, "Oh, hang on, the fun bit is shouting objection in court." So they figured all that out, but they'd got to that point, and he was still a hamster. He started life as a hamster. And it was only after they'd already figured out that he needs to be in the courtroom, they were like, "Oh no, he should probably be a human."
You can tell that he was meant to be a detective because, like,
he
meant to be a hamster because
he's like putting food in his
those cheeks. Yeah. That's why he ate the bone of the like you could because you're basically doing detective work, and like there's even a few lines like, why are you here? You shouldn't have this evidence, you're not a detective, and you're just going into the police place and going in the evidence room, and there'd always be like I've got to ask permission, but you basically are just like a policeman working with like the other detectives, but not really.
Yeah, that's part of what I was saying about the contrivedness of it being a double-edged sword. Like, doesn't really make sense. Kind of stupid, but also it makes it more fun, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play the gritty Xbox 360 generation reboot of the series.
That'll probably be the film. I think the film's quite gritty, The film's actually based on the second case as well.
Okay.
And the second case was the first one that they wrote when they wrote them all.
Yeah,
and then they wrote the first one afterwards to be like a training.
Yeah, the first one's almost a bit of a throwaway. It's like quite vanilla, quite like not that connected to the other ones. Right, so well done to Phoenix Wright. Top half, just about of the list.
Yeah.
So well done. We have another list though.
We do. For the first time ever presented, it's our Patreon community list. So the Patreon community Discord has its own list, but the way it's put together is a bit different to ours because obviously there's so many people, they can't all get debates.
Every Monday we get together and have a big debate, all 70 of us.
Yeah, we shout objection, we shout take that. No, so the way that theirs works is that they get 3 votes and they can give them to any of the games that we've covered, and they can change it every time we release a new episode. On the run-up, we add that game so they can also vote for that one. And they can change their votes as well, so it's not like stuck in stone kind of thing. So there's currently 17 games on there because the other half of the games we've done have not had a single vote yet. So they're all the bottom of the list. So this is basically where we are at the moment. Is there any surprises there for you, Joe?
No, so let me just speed read off the top 10 just for audio listeners. So from 1 down, this is top down. We got Undertale, Disco Elysium, Prey, The Forgotten City, World of Warcraft, The Last of Us, the first one, Death Stranding, Yoshi's Island, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. Thanks, guys, and then Half-Life Alyx at number 10. Yeah. I'm surprised to see just outside of the top 10, Last of Us Part 2. I'm surprised to see such a difference between the Last of Us games.
Maybe it's an access thing. Is The Last of Us Part 2? Oh, it is on PS4, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on PS3, but also there's like games that, like Yoshi's Island is probably a little bit, I guess you can play that on Switch, maybe a little bit less
Switch,
accessible. Surprised like
yeah.
Halo wasn't on there, because that was like, when it came out, it was like free to play, and that was quite a big thing. I'm surprised people that's not got any votes.
Well, this is a new list. Don't forget, I only made this list a couple of weeks ago. So the Halo's long forgotten about now, mate. No one cares anymore. Have you heard the latest Halo rumors, by the way?
I know there's been a bunch of layoffs. They've just laid off loads of the developers there, which sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, that does totally suck. That's not the rumor I was talking about. So this is completely rumor.
Is this about the game engine? Are you talking about? Or
no. They've scrapped all the single player content.
Yeah, but it was the campaign team that mostly got laid off.
Yeah. So it's just staying on that one biome of the woods, I guess. If the rumor's true, it'll be staying there forever. So
yeah, I mean, when they released it, they were like, "This is like the 10-year plan. This Halo is going to be like the platform," and as it sucks because the foundation, or like at least the multiplayer, was like so solid. But they just, there must have been mismanagement. There's been constantly just heads of departments like leaving. There's definitely something going on there, and and for Microsoft, like obviously, like it sucks them like trying to like laying people off at the same time where they're like spending billions on buying new companies. It's like if you could afford to do that, you could have afforded to keep these people on and put them on a different project. But then again, I'm like, it was a right choice for them not to develop any more campaign. Not because I think it's awful, because I'm like, that's not going to make you any money. Like, they just weren't going to make any money from that, were they?
Yeah. The any time a game says they're doing a 10-year plan, it's like, oh, okay, I won't worry about that then. The Avengers is shutting down permanently.
Yeah,
the Avengers game. That's been out like what, 18 months. That had a 10-year plan. Destiny had a 10-year plan, and they released Destiny 2 about a year later. Like, stop.
Well, no, Destiny's their plan was going to be a trilogy that was going to last those years, but then they never released the second one. Got delayed loads. They never released the third one. But to be their credit, they are
still going.
They're doing good for Destiny 2. To be fair,
yeah, I think the Division, they had 10-year plans. I don't think they're.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I'm not saying it's generally. I don't think 10-year plans are a good idea. The one on here that surprised me of being so high up. Obviously, there's Ty.
Yeah, but that's
because we've got a little sect in the Discord that I've tried to push Ty up as high as they can because I think it's funny, which it is funny to be fair. Prey being at number 3 is a shock to me.
How come?
I don't think many people have played it.
I think that's them trying to make me happy. I think that's because it's a contentious game. I think that's
and also Forgotten City being as high as it is.
Yeah,
is another interesting one.
Yeah, I think also Disco Elysium being on 2. I think that's like, I wonder whether that's because it's at number 1 for us. It's inflated it a little bit. Like, obviously there's our bias. Everyone voting on it has you've been watching us. It's actually a pretty good time because we've not properly spoke about the Discord or the Patreon on the podcast before. But basically, if you don't know, so the way it works is if you join the Patreon, then you get access to this Discord where, there's things like the list. We've been doing games nights. There's like different channels for all the different aspects for what we do. And then we've also got another podcast with, as I'm recording this, done 2 episodes already. It's called Extra Credit, where it's much more to kind of just behind the scenes. Me and Ollie kind of chatting about whatever we want that week, whatever games just come out. With the last episode, a lot of childhood stories.
Oh, it's so good. I don't want to be that guy that's like so good, but like it was. So funny,
it was a fun reminiscing time, and then for the people that listened to it, they really enjoyed it as well. And there was some certain stories that Ollie teased as well. So just to let you know, if you do want to go and check it out, it's down below. We're running out for the early bird. So basically, if you joined very early on, you'll kind of get like a special kind of name on your role. We've decided we're going to do that for the first 85 people that join. As we're recording this, we have 69 members. So there's not many spaces left. So it's nothing. You don't get anything bonus, but if you join in that early bird section, like, you'll have that name forever.
Forever. Yeah. Cool. I think it's like less than 20 spaces left. I can't work it out. I think
it's 16, isn't it? Isn't that right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm so rubbish at maths. Just one more thing on this list that has just caught my eye and surprised me is Drive San Francisco is on there. Like, of all the games that don't have votes, someone was like, Drive San Francisco is the one I'm going to vote for.
That's an amazing game. I don't know what you're on about. I mean, it's out of that's out of the games that we have done. That's probably one of the ones that's like one of the more well-known ones that sold a lot. Like we've done a lot of like indie games and obscure games and older games. Like it's like a Ubisoft game. Like it's from a few years ago, but it's not unknown.
No ooblets.
No ooblets. That's actually a bit surprising because that's the a lot of people have been really enjoying that.
Yeah, but I feel like the community love of Undertale is obviously very well known. So good on them for getting it to the top.
Oh yeah, that's like the least. Like the big surprise would be as if Undertale wasn't at the top of the list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. You're going to ask me what games you got coming up, aren't you?
Yeah. Are you prepared?
I might actually need a minute to get this. Hang on. Right. Okay. So coming up, next episode we have got Rogue, which is coming out on February 10th. You can buy that on Steam for I think it's like £2, 10 pence or something. It's the 1980 game. Roguelike.
If you're someone who enjoys listening to these and have always thought about like, it would be nice to kind of play along the game with them. Like this is the one. If you're a busy person, like you could put an hour into this game and get a great idea what it is. So yeah, this might be a good one to play along with us if you can.
Yeah, and then the next one after that is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is February 24th with a guest. Then we have Atomic Heart on March the 10th, which I think is the closest we can do to its release date. So that's like a brand new one. Then we have The Walking Dead Season 1 on March 24th. And then on April 7th, we have The Dig with a guest, which is the LucasArts. When did that come out?
I don't know, it's 90s. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly when. I think it's kind of later 90s. And then are we going to do, so then... Can we do one more?
Yeah.
The big...
Yeah,
so this
one
is
more. Hold on to your hats, guys.
Probably the most requested game, would you say, that we've ever had?
I'd say one of.
Yeah. Well, what are... So before you mention what this one is, list off what you would say as some of the most suggested games.
Okay, well, obviously there's Undertale, which you did.
Yeah.
Walking Dead, which we're doing.
Yeah.
There's another game called Omori or something that everyone is like, you have to do Omori, Hollow Knight. Obviously.
Yeah. I think Subnautica is one as well.
Subnautica? Yes, Subnautica. Yes. And then obviously Minecraft as well.
It's one of the ones Ollie mentioned. Yeah. Can you guess which one?
It's Hollow Knight, April 21 we're doing. I don't know how close that is to the release date of the new one because I've not said yet.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to do it. Like what we didn't want to do was to get to a point where the new ones come out and then we're like, let's talk about the old one. So we're hoping it's before the new one, but like relatively close to it is what we're hoping for. And you're welcome, guys. This is I'm the Hollow Knight fan, so this is me putting it forward. So you're welcome.
How about we put in a little asterisk next to it and say that if the new one comes out before, like with enough time before this one, we'll do the new one instead.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Because they might suddenly do like and it's releasing today.
Yeah, but I still want you to play the first one because.
I might, mate. I'm so busy. I didn't even finish Citizen Sleeper. I'm that busy, and I'm now so far away from it that I don't think I'll be able to go back.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't even finish the game this week.
This is way off. This is distant future. Ollie's moving house at the moment, so things are and busy at work. So there's probably a good time to mention that there might be a gap of best of threes or kind of one-offs just for a little bit while we kind of wait to get back on track. But podcast will carry on as normal. So next Friday there'll be the next episode of Extra Credit where we may reveal that story that Ollie
I've got
was
it. I've got the story. I've got it. I've managed to get it off my phone.
Yeah, it was in the wedding speech that Ollie, as my best man, read out. So this is the quality of that. Well, I just want to say thank you. I just kind of randomly was looking through some of the reviews that we've been getting on the Apple podcast app. We're still sitting at 4.8 and got some really lovely messages from some people on there. Something that I've not normally looked at very much. So thank you to all of you. But yeah, apart from that, I think that's everything we need to say for this week, right?
Yeah, and also thanks to the Patreons. You've signed up already.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. So yeah, one of these, as I said, will be up 2 weeks from now. That will be Rogue. But apart from that, there might be one or two things popping up in the channel, so maybe check back if you're interested. But apart from that, cheers for listening or watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Cheers, bye.